Biraz aşağı salma. Hello everyone. So I welcome all my students to my lesson. So what we plan to discuss today? The question that we have to discuss today with you actually is, that's the first lesson concerned this topic, is about unemployment. That's a very important question, especially right now, because nowadays, when all societies, all economic communities, all countries, and even we may assert that in general, the world economy lives a very hard time because of the unexpected problem associated with coronavirus and the COVID-19. So because of this global impact associated with this unexpected problem, it's normal to expect very hard days for the near future. So among these hard problems that the society and in general the different economic communities in different countries may be faced as unemployment. Well as the inflation, unemployment stands among the hard macroeconomic problems. At the same time, the unemployment indicator is among the major macroeconomic indicators. If you remember, when we started to discuss the macroeconomic issues, we started with gross domestic product and national accounting system. And if you remember, I mentioned that there are a lot of different indicators that are very important for macroeconomic analysis. And among those indicators, unemployment occupies an important place. Well, so actually everybody can describe what is unemployment, because in different countries, in economically advanced countries, as well as in developing countries, we can see the similar problems associated with people who cannot find their jobs, the people that normally are willing and able to work, but unfortunately, they don't feel themselves satisfied with their salaries, even in their work. So the similar problems are closely related with the global unemployment issue that we plan to discuss today. So firstly, of course, we need to clarify, do we have any questions? Because I hear some sounds, but I'm not sure. Hello, Chichak. Hello, Leila. Hello, Samir. Well, I welcome everyone. And by the way, so if I'm not mistaken, I see about 14 participants right now. Okay, do you hope the number of students involved will increase? So what is unemployment? The first task we have to understand what economic condition, what the market situation. Of course, firstly, we have to talk about the labor market. We can qualify as unemployment. So probably, then you can see on this slide, the attempt to describe the unemployment in terms of economic key points. So basically, unemployment refers to specific condition of unwanted job losses. So the situation when the people who are willing and able to work, of course, we require the people have to get the specific education, professional training, otherwise they couldn't find their jobs. And even under these requirements, if the people want to work, they are able and willing to work, but unfortunately, they stay without jobs because the supply of free job places are supplies of different job positions actually are comparably lower than the demand for them. So the key idea of the unemployment, of course, is the willingness of unemployed workers to get the jobs. In other words, to be employed. And that's probably the key question that we have to discuss. So let's go to short description, what we have to think about the people that we want to identify as the unemployed workers. So shortly, the person that is physically fit, it means that he has physical, mentally sound, well qualified. So it means that they have the physical abilities, mental abilities, and this person has the good qualification, probably the education, and is professional. He's willing, he or her, doesn't matter, willing to work at specific prevailing wage rate, because no one is able and even is willing to work free charge. Actually doesn't make any sense to participate in labor market. If you remember, every production resource has specific price, and the price of labor as a resource is wage or salary. So if under these circumstances, under these requirements, the person cannot find the suitable job, so it doesn't get job, this situation in the labor market is called the full unemployment. Okay, so of course, there are different forms of unemployment, and before analyzing this, we have to talk about the process that we need to describe in terms of counting. Is it possible to measure unemployment or not? What are the key tools that we use for counting the unemployment? Do we have any mechanism, or we need to use something other approaches? So okay, I think some have some problem. Please let me make. Okay, well, so before counting, before discussing the problem with counting of unemployment, we have to describe the differences between the labor force and unemployed and employed people. Okay, so among the employed and unemployed people, we see the specific division. We split them in two types. So first one, you may enjoy this funny picture, the funny slide. So we see the voluntary employment as well as involuntary employment. So what we mean when we say the voluntary unemployment, of course, the situation that the people voluntarily refuse to work. This unemployment is the result of situation when all production resources that are willing and able to engage in production choose actually not to produce output. So this situation, especially if we consider the situation with labor resource, leads to very strange market situation when the people very frequently leave the different jobs because they feel themselves dissatisfied with the level of salaries, perhaps majorly, and very often change the job places. There could be different reasons, but mainly the reason is very low incomes, well, very low wages. And the other type is so-called the involuntary employment, actually, it's in contrast to voluntary unemployment. This situation implies very unpleasant situation when the labor resources actually are forced to stay out of the work. Involuntary unemployment. We also call like the forced unemployment, the situation when the market situation and the business affairs frequently force workers to leave their jobs. Okay, so that's the different types of unemployments. Actually, we'll consider this lesson, the types of unemployment, but later I'll also go back to the labor force and the problem of counting the unemployment level or rate of unemployment. You know, uh, frequently the students, when we offer them to describe unemployment or just to describe the labor force or labor resource, and they understand, they mix the concept of population of the country and the labor force of the country. You know, not always in the population of the country and the labor force available in this country, they show the same, they carry out the same meaning, they contain the same meaning. That's slightly different things. Imagine that the population of your country is about 3 or I don't know 5 million people. Does it mean that all these people, I mean 5 million, they are potentially labor, they are considered like potential labor force? Of course, no, because among these people, we have the people under 16 years. Among these people, we have elderly people who are retired, basically. Among this, I mean, the population of the country, we have different handicapped and disabled people who have serious problem with moving or maybe listening, seeing, etc. And because of these objective factors, they cannot walk even if they want. That's why they normally they are in the different institutions financially supported by the government. On the other side, in many societies, in many countries, among the population of these countries, we can find out the people who voluntarily don't refuse to work. It doesn't mean that they are very bad workers or they don't have any incentives to work, but they just don't work, don't want to work. So we have to distinguish among these different groups of people, and that's why if we include all of them in labor force, it will be a very wrong approach. That's why to identify the precise number of people that we can classify as labor force, we have to take away from population the people under 16, then retired people who don't work. Then we have to take away from the population of the country the amount of disabled people and handicapped people who are in different state institutions. We have to take away the other specific social groups that also are under the protection of the government, like the people who have different physical or mental problems, and the people who are at the moment among the national army, I mean the military forces, or unfortunately are in prisons. Actually, we cannot consider them like the potentially labor force. So, and after taking away these specific social groups from the total population, the final number of people will be the labor force of the country. And believe me, the number of these people is significantly lower than the total population of the country. So something about the types of unemployment. So you see about 6 different types of unemployment, but that's list of types of unemployment. It's very detailed. Basically, in economic, literature and in different economic resources, you can find out basically 3 major types of unemployment, like cyclical unemployment, fractional unemployment, and structural unemployment. But nevertheless, we'll consider all of them. Let me move further. By the way, if you have any questions, please put my questions immediately. Don't worry, if I put my questions, I prefer your questions in English. But if it's hard for you, you may put me the questions in Azerbaijani or in Russian as well. Okay, so look, that's fantastic picture. Describes the seasonal unemployment. Oops, okay. So as you can see, the seasonal unemployment looks very, very similar to Azerbaijani people working in the fields, yeah, when the pineapples, and it's a watermelon, so sorry. So seasonal unemployment refers to a specific market situation. Of course, we discuss first of the labor market, where a number of persons are not able to find jobs and they stay unemployed during several months of the year. So that's why we call that the seasonal unemployment. You can see an example. The typical example is the seasonal jobs in agricultural sector. So because in summer, in the summer months, you can observe the increased demand for different types of labor, like, I don't know, harvesting, the weeding, etc. But it's a very short period of time. So after the finishing this time, the majority of people, unfortunately, stay unemployed. Similar types of unemployment as known in economics like seasonal unemployment. And that's not obligatory to use the example only for summer. The similar, I think that everyone can find the suitable examples for the winter as well, especially in tourism sector. Okay, so that's a cyclical unemployment. Unfortunately, cyclical unemployment is among the hardest types of unemployment and is typical for the recession phase of business cycle, if you remember, and even for third point of the business cycle. Well, so look, you can compare the pictures. You see two people discussing, right? When the cyclical unemployment occurs, normally the cyclical unemployment occurs where there's absolutely not enough aggregate demand in economy. When the aggregate supply, unfortunately, in some spheres, in some sectors of national economy exceeds the aggregate demand. And as a result, it's very, very hard to find to provide everyone in the labor market with suitable jobs appropriate for everyone. So because demand for goods and services normally decreases, it means that we don't need, the society doesn't need increased production of goods and services. And because the production in turn lowers, that's why there is no strong demand as minimum great demand for workers and for employers in general. And the result is, of course, unfortunately, the very, very hard unemployment. By the way, if seasonal unemployment, economists recognize like something very normal. There's for cyclical unemployment, unfortunately, we don't show any strong evidences that it's normal. Cyclical unemployment basically is abnormal, but unfortunately, it's very hard to leave the cyclical unemployment because we know that business cycle, unfortunately, is a repeated process, and time to time the situation has to be repeated. And I'm worrying of expected cyclical unemployment for our country, for Azerbaijan as well, because of very, very strong and unfortunately expected long-term decline in production in Azerbaijan, not only in Azerbaijan, that's all over the world. Okay, let's move further. So that's also interesting. Technical unemployment. So technical unemployment, as you can understand, normally is like the situation that's very closely related to technological progress, to technical and technological changes, or new methods of production, managing an industry and producing some technological processes created for new kinds of businesses. By the way, the picture, actually, this slide offers you the assembly line. That's the automobile assembly plant. The assembly line implies continuous processing production process. And unfortunately, not all employees can on time at the moment reach the necessary technical skills. This is from one side. From another side, the technological changes, the using of different mechanical robots, etc., they lowers demand for physical labor. It means for the hands of the people, and in turn reduces the number of employees in the plants, especially in the automobile industry. But what to do? Actually, the technical unemployment also is an unavoidable type, because we cannot stop, we cannot block the technological progress, especially if we discuss the production process. Well, the other one is frictional unemployment. The frictional unemployment very frequently is described by the economists and the authors of different economic textbooks like something temporary. The situation is actually the frictional unemployment, of course, is the type of specific form of voluntary unemployment. If cyclical unemployment, unfortunately, is involuntary unemployment, because people don't want to stay unemployed, but they are forced under the pressure of economic processes. But in case of frictional unemployment, we cannot assert the same about this, because that's actually the part of voluntary unemployment. When this unemployment rises, frequently frictionally unemployment is very short term. That's why we call them the temporary unemployment, and is associated with new business opportunities, with new job opportunities, with new job openings, perhaps. It means that, imagine that I feel myself dissatisfied with my current work, and I want to change my job place. I decided to change my university, for example. It means, so I have to think about my new opportunities, and perhaps I can get the invitation from or some offer from the other university, and till in the short period of time when I expect the new offers from the other job places, I may state unemployed, but it's very short-term unemployed first. And the second is voluntary unemployment because I decided to do that. Yeah. So it doesn't happen because something happened on my job and something happened in the economy, and that's why the the hundreds and thousands of people stay unemployed. That's my decision. That's my personal decision, and I'm responsible for that. Well, then you can see the example. So when you make up your mind instead of looking for a better job. So I think that the other job place is better for me in different aspects, and I decided to change my job. Yeah, but I'm not sure. Maybe except for this first offer I can find on the other one. That's why. That's because of my decision, and no one can say that this is the forced unemployment. Yeah. Okay. I still don't hear any questions. Actually, I can explain this because of two factors. First, everyone tries to understand me, and for everyone, everything is clear. The second reason is that no one actually understands anything. I don't know why, but I think that the second one is more truthful. Yeah, Leila, what do you think about that? Saleh, Chichek, do you agree or not? I don't hear you.
İştirəm müəllimə.
Okay. Thank you for supporting. So structural unemployment. Saleh, how can you interpret this in Azerbaijani? Structural unemployment. Anybody can help him? No? Okay. So the structural unemployment, the key dictionary meaning of this word structural means that you change the structure of some process. Yeah, structure. Well, it frequently is caused by different structural changes in a very fast and dynamically developed economy. So unemployment caused by extremely massive change of skills or requirements, or maybe mismatch of skills, or perhaps the geographical location as well. That's also known as structural unemployment. Well, so on the picture, on this slide, by the way, you can see the very bright example. Yeah. So manufacturer involves new machines. Yeah. And humans are no longer needed for harder work. So actually, that's the heavy manufacturer. Normally, you see that's the mining. Yeah. So in this situation, because the structure of economy changes, and maybe the government or the market situation requires to introduce new industries and requires structural changes in global economy. As a result is that some industries, and because of that, demand for some jobs, for some professional skills also extremely declines. That's why to stay employed, you need to get new professional skills. If you can do that, you'll be employed again. But if you cannot do that, you'll stay unemployed for a specific period of time till you can learn, you can get new professional skills required at the moment nowadays. Well, so what kind of problems may arise because of the structural unemployment? By the way, I see that I have several minutes. It's about 5 minutes. So structural unemployment actually poses more of a problem because workers actually, they have to find the jobs in any place. Actually, elsewhere must develop the skills demanded. Sometimes for some people it's very hard because of their age, maybe because of their technological skills, because when the people are adult people, for example, like me, sometimes it's hard to study new technical skills, especially. It requires more time than for young people and even for teenagers sometimes. So that's why my chance to be structurally unemployed is significantly higher than yours. Okay, so I have about 3 minutes actually to complete, and let me to move further to discuss unemployment. Well, that's actually the situation when majority of people are engaged in specific activity, and the number of these people is significantly more than required to complete this work. So it is a very typical situation, when demand for labor is significantly lower in this sphere than supply of labor. So a very bright example, it's very typical for agricultural sector. So you even can see that in the picture in this slide. To complete this job, it's not required to hire so many people. Yeah, and if you can complete the work by, say, on the picture from the the left-hand side, you see the bulls and 3 young men who try to manage these 2 bulls. So obviously, to manage this situation, 1 person is enough. But in the typical situation, when the 2 young men that we don't need to carry out this job will be discussed unemployed workers. Okay, so let me to stop my lesson for today because I have 1 minute left, but I'll be happy to continue this lesson next time. So if you don't have any questions, by the way, this is the first lesson associated with the unemployment problem, this topic. I plan the second lesson as well. So we'll continue later. See you next time. Have a good day.
And
the question?
Yeah.
What's the question? Aysu, Çiçek, who is that?
What about exam, final exam?
Final exam. Okay, yeah. So look, because I have the list of very active students that every time attend my lesson, I want to offer them the exam at the end of May. So I don't want to expect for June. So probably it will be about 26th of May. The rest of the students can take the exam in June. So I can inform you later by WhatsApp chat. Yeah, is it okay?
Okay, but I have another question. Did you give us our answer and case?
Okay, so normally every student will get about the same number of test questions because you have 75 hours for term. So probably the number of questions will be 250 with the answers. But on final exam, the order of the answers will be changed, yeah, in order to miss the cheating of the students. Did you get me?
Get it.
Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Müəllimə.
Bəli.
Bir dənə sual verim də. İndi testin cavabları olacaq.
Əlbəttə ki, cavablarla veriləcək sizə. Sadəcə əsas imtahanda o cavabların ardıcıllığı dəyişdiriləcək. Başa düşdünüz, Salih? Məsələn, mən sizə suallar 250 dənə test verəcəm. cavabları ilə. Bütün testlərdə cavab məsələn B bəndində olacaq. Amma imtahanda o B bəndi olmayacaq. Orada ardıcıllıq dəyişiləcək. Çatdıra bildim fikrimi?
Y bəndi cavab olacaq məsəl üçün.
Məsələn, Y'dir, birində E'dir, birində A'dır, birində C'dir və s. Anlaşıldı mı?
Çox sağ olun müəllim.
Buyurun, sağ olun. Hələlik. Bugünlük qurtardı dərsimiz. Sağ olun.
Sağ olun.